we gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight, in the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy.
I was grooving and hit the wrong button. My bad. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another episode of Soul Citizen. Hope everybody's doing well this weekend. This is episode 36. 236. I'm sorry. Dang, 236. Wing Commander to Squadron 42. And I'm joined by my co-host today, SeriousFun. How are you doing, SeriousFun?
Every day is an absolute blessing. Pleased to talk about this other game that this $700 million fundraising is supposed to be going to that we sometimes don't take the time to talk about. So happy to be here to do that with you.
Yeah, because there's two games that they're making. Two
Correct.
quadruple A games. If someone coined the phrase. I wonder who coined that phrase.
Yeah, it was not the Ubisoft CEO. That's all we know.
Yeah, today is January 19, 2025. Hope everybody's doing well. Are you getting any snow today or tomorrow?
Yeah, we have about 5 inches right now. So the best thing about having 5 inches is I have 3 kids. So they can go ahead and get that.
Yeah, look like it's just raining out here. We haven't got snow yet. We're supposed to get 6 inches tonight and 3 inches tomorrow. So yeah, oh well. But I got my groceries today, so I'm all set.
Right. I did that yesterday. Outstanding.
You did that yesterday. All right. Yeah, today we're going to go on a journey through history, covering some of Chris Roberts' games in the lead up to Squadron 42. We're going to discuss the inspiration Chris Roberts may have taken from his previous games and other media. And we'll give our predictions for the future. You got anything to add before we hop to it?
No, just that it is a journey, and I have been here for it all. So I look forward to exploring that with the community tonight, and excited to see where this takes us. Good stuff.
Cool. All right, so let's get started here. So we're going to start off. Let me get my other document up. Sorry about that. Everything's covered over here. So yeah, this first video is like all the epic scenes from the Squadron 42 presentation from this last year's CitizenCon, and just wanted to go through some of it. Probably watch a couple of minutes and then 1 minute or so. It didn't come back to us. So yeah, here we go.
Shields open up.
All right. So yeah. So that is the
Oh
Omega.
my goodness, you cut me off right when it's just tasty. It's just tasty.
Right, you're getting into it, right? Yeah, that's some good stuff there. A lot of people commented on that. We'll cover that in later on in the show. But yeah, what was you were there? So what was your take like when you were actually in the what was it, the venue? Put it that way. Yeah, the venue and everything.
Well, you
So,
have
yeah.
to remember that live, there were 2-3 crashes, right? Which took us in and out of the emotion that clearly CIG was trying to capture, right? And did capture in the content that they put up afterwards, the seamless run that they put up with afterwards. It was nonetheless, it was compelling in that, and we'll go through it in that it's a Chris Roberts game, right?
Right.
With all of the strengths and some of the weaknesses, but mostly for me, the strengths of that type of narrative is what Chris Robertson has brought to the table year after year, decade after decade, was why I believed anything he said in 2012 anyway, right? So, yeah.
So, quick question for you: did you back the game for Star Citizen or Squadron 42 when you first backed it?
Both. I loved the idea of getting a modern wing commander, right? And then having that universe to be in from a multiplayer perspective after playing the single player, I thought was an innovative and compelling idea. So I backed it for both. Yeah.
What was the ratio between the, was it more for Squadron 42 or more for Wing I'm sorry, for Star Citizen?
Probably more for Squadron 42 initially because it was the known quantity for me, right? When you think about Squadron 42 as the modern retelling or redoing of something that I had already played a lot, that was the easiest to relate to. But I did want to also, I had become very interested, whether it's single player or multiplayer, I become very interested in being me in these settings.
Right.
And character creation had grown where we could
Oh my
be
goodness,
ourselves.
yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I liked being a black man in these spaces and places. And so I looked forward to that idea as well. Right. So.
So for me, I backed for both also.
Yeah,
I backed for both. I backed for Star Citizen and 2042. At the time in 2014, I'm trying to remember. I want to say 50-50 split because I was going to enjoy both of them. I'm looking forward to both of them. I guess at the time, it was maybe 55-45 towards Squadron 42, just barely, if that. But basically, I backed for both too.
Yeah, that's about where I was. Yeah, I would say that's about where I was.
Because I mean, I was playing Star Wars: The Old Republic at the time, and I was looking for another space game. Because at the time they were not around too much. But then Squadron 42 and Star Citizen came on. Now everyone wanted to put out a space game again. They're the it thing again. So we have Chris Roberts to thank for that.
That's right. Yeah, everybody say thank you.
All right, so yeah, this is the Squadron 42 prologue, all the epic space battle scenes. I wish we had a mod so they can put in the link, but I'll try to put the link there. Oh, actually, if you could do me a favor and go to the doc, the text doc, and just copy the title and the link, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate it. All right, so yeah, up next, we're going to go back. How far back? Way back. 2012.
A little something like this.
Yes, exactly. So this is the Star Citizen Chris Roberts history. We're only going to watch like the first 3 minutes to give you a little bit of history of where we're coming from. So here we go.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old, I dreamt of being a hotshot pilot saving the galaxy or a lovable rogue making my way across the cosmos. It inspired me to make Wing Commander and has influenced everything I've done since then. 10 years ago, after 20 years of making games, I was burned out, so I took a break, but I never stopped playing games nor loving them. And now, I'm ready to come back, and I'd like to show you something I've been working on. But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever your spaceship takes you. I want to be able to share this experience with my friends and fight against real opponents in space, not just AI. And I want this to be as good or better than any other game out there. And I want to actively push the boundaries of what you can do in a game. None of this would have been even possible 2 years ago. But with Moore's Law driving PC performance and cost and the gaming community embracing talented developers via crowdfunding, I believe it is possible today. I've never been accused of having a small vision. And so I thought it was best if I share my ambition with you visually. I'm pretty excited by how it's joined out. So why don't you come join me for a sneak peek?
We're gonna take over from there. Yes, this is I believe this is the GDC pitch video from 2012. So yeah, 13 years, and it looked like it. I believe the pinnacle of graphics card back then was the 690. Oh no, 490, the 490, I believe. Dragon Dog, thank you for the gifted sub to Jay Dogwasser. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dragon Dog. So yeah, several generations of graphic card ago. So what do you think? Did you catch this live or did you catch it later?
No, I caught it later, but not too much later. Word was getting around about the idea of explicitly leaning into PC gaming and PC space sim gaming. And you know, I've always had a love-hate relationship with my consoles, in that there have been times in my life where a console was just more convenient, but I've always wanted to and tried to have a PC in my life, right? And you know, whether it was the space sims or military sims or front page sports football or Chess Master 3000, all that stuff that started on you know, Zork, Mist, I would be here all day. I am really into PC gaming for its the top end, the upward end of it is always where stuff is being stretched. And that gave me the sense that Chris Roberts agreed with us on that, right? That he did not want to fit his game into the current console life cycle. He wanted to stretch, and stretching was going to happen on the PC platform. And so I was excited that he was leaning specifically into that. Yeah, so I saw this very shortly after the first announcement, and I was in. So
I think I caught this in 2014. I heard about the Kickstarter from a friend who was a guildmate who was playing Star Wars with me, and I looked at the Kickstarter and I'm like, maybe later. It didn't really grab my attention at the time. So then 2 years later passed, and the CitizenCon presentation came, and I saw the social module with ArtCorp, and that's what grabbed me, and that's what made me a backer. So after I saw the CitizenCon presentation, then I went back and started catching up on some of the stuff I mentioned. That's when I saw this. But yeah, I didn't catch it at the very first go around.
Yeah, I became a backer 27 December 2013, and I remember that it was then that I was on break from work, and I had time to think about. I was on Christmas holiday, and I had time to think about this thing that I had heard about that I wanted to get into, and that's when I decided to get into it. So.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, that is the Chris Roberts pitch video.
But you ain't telling no lies, Fastcart, when you say it looked like 2013, boy. Woo! We were excited back then, but
I was excited, yeah, man, yeah. Still am excited, but yeah, I mean.
But if you had gotten this and in today's context, you'd be done playing it already.
Or if I gotten this in 2016, because then it would have been a generation behind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah. All right. So yeah, that is the pitch video. Now we're gonna go cover some of the history for Chris Roberts' game, and we're gonna start off with the oldie but goodie. The Wing Commander introduction. Now this is 7 minutes long, so we're not gonna go through the whole thing. We're probably gonna watch like 3 minutes. Well, no, we could just I can just mute and we can talk over it. That's what we'll do. But yeah, I was a LucasArts person. I did not catch all the Wing Commander craze, and I heard that the Wing Commander games were harder than the LucasArts game because they do work in 6 degrees of freedom as opposed to LucasArts games. The X-Wing and TIE Fighter were more like fighter styles or airplane styles. But you started with these games, right?
Well, I played both. I played X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance with the Millennium Falcon, but I also leaned into this universe and began here with the first Wing Commander. Absolutely. Yes. You know.
So, did you find the Wing Commander games harder?
Yeah, I found that. Well, I found they were different. They weren't necessarily harder, but they were different.
Explain how.
Well, so I there was from the very beginning there was I think a deeper sense built into the game of consequence, right? So your performance would impact how your crewmates talk to you and where portions of the story would go, right? And it was one of the first games to do that really well, have those multiple endings and multiple pathways, depending on how you performed. So I felt a different type of pressure playing these than I did necessarily X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, which I felt was more like if it didn't go the way you want, you just kind of reset and start over. But this was consequential, right? And I liked that a lot, right? I expect actually to see that type of thing in Squadron 42, right? Where if you mess up or half-ass, there are pathways to finish the game where the Vandal just win because you didn't do what you supposed
ending,
to do.
as they say.
Yeah. And so that began here with Wing Commander. So
yeah, and I forgot to give the background. This is 1990, y'all. So this is before some of y'all were born. This is before I graduated high school.
And Jade Star Watcher in the chat is right. That conductor that we see at the beginning of the Star Engine video is a harkening back to this conductor and Chris Roberts' elevation of the Origin FX sound system for the game.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So yeah, like I said, 1990. I didn't even have a PC back then. I had my brother's Nintendo, I believe, at the time. So I never owned a console myself. My brother had one, but I played on here because it helped me to play one-handed. The Nintendo console was good because the controller was small, so I can use one hand to use all the buttons. And my brother did have an Atari too, but that was a little bit more challenging, so I wasn't really a console person, so I was a PC person all my life. And so when I got my first PC, I think when it was like 94, and this is after that, and that's when I started my LucasArts and X-Wing and TIE Fighter and all that craze. You remember TIE Defender?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
TIE Defender was the joint, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So,
well, and so you had LucasArts and you had Origin, and putting out multiple versions of these games, and you could see the evolution of where they were going. And we'll talk about it, but Wing Commander, even here, you can see how it was leaning into this. You're a part of a crew, right? Not just a singular actor, right? and then they leaned into some other technology that we'll talk about in a minute. But LucasArts was leaning more into features, right, and debuting more and more platforms in the game, right? B-wings and TIE Defenders, and again the Millennium Falcon towards the end of the
yeah.
So they leaned into platforms that you could fly, and this leans more into this sensibility of being part of a crew. Actually, Star Wars Squadrons tries to get at a little bit of this, right? A little bit of this.
So remind me, this is before I had my first PC. This may test your memory. Do you remember what PC you used to play this?
Oh,
Because I remember my first PC was a 486 in 94, 96, I believe.
Yeah, I think this was like a compact 386.
386.
Yeah, IBM PC clone, if I remember correctly.
Right.
That
was before Sound Blaster, right?
Before what?
Sound Blaster, Creative Labs, Sound Blaster.
I think it was around the same time.
Around the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was just curious because we're going through the history. So yeah, 386. Windows. Probably it was DOS back then. No, right before Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man. good days.
The first Sound Blaster dropped in 1989, right?
89. So, oh wow. Okay. Yeah. All right.
So you were getting Sound Blaster 2.0, Sound Blaster 1.5, right? And
the tricky thing about this stuff is that you had to configure your auto.bat and config.sys file just right in order to play these games. And you had to configure your RQs and DMAs in order to hear the game properly. You had to go in and actually change the jumpers on the hardware rather than doing everything in software like they do now. I do not miss those days. I do not miss those days. All right, so yeah, that is Wing Commander 1990. Moving on from that, we're going to skip a few games and go to Wing Commander Privateer, which is 93. So let's check this out.
What is it, huh? Is it a smuggler far off in normal space lanes? Maybe a bad smuggler with some nice contraband.
Sorry, boys. I'm just a tourist with a frag nav console. Could you tell me where I am?
Deep in trouble, little tourist. Prepare to be boarded.
Not a chance, pal. Prepare to go to hell.
That flies so good. Are you insane?
No, it's just got a load of cargo in the hold and a load of bills to pay at home.
And I the same. You shouldn't kill me just for attacking you.
I don't mind that you tried to kill me, but protecting myself against your type gets expensive, and I'm on a budget.
People are commenting here in the chat about the dialogue. So yes, I was not familiar with the. I guess you could call them spin-offs of the Wing Commander series. I was familiar with the Wing Commander 1, 2, and 3, and 4, but not so much the spin-offs. So what can you tell us about it? This is from '93.
Yeah, so Privateer was about you played the role of Grayson Burroughs, who was functioning in Gemini Sector, which was one of the sectors in the Wing Commander universe, right? So that was how it spun off. But the idea here was that you were no longer on this sort of military mission-driven specific military goals to accomplish relative rails, even with some of the variation you got depending on mission success. You were really on rails for those Wing Commander games. This was about free to adventure on your own, right? Free to explore. There was a plot, right? But even after the plot was ostensibly finished, the game could still be played, right? And this was cutting edge graphics at the time, right?
I mean, yeah, you could definitely see the difference between Wing Commander from 1990 and then Privateer from '93. That's 3 year difference, but what an improvement!
Yeah. And Lady Space Patrol is getting at it really in a rigorous way in the chat for Privateer. Lady Space Patrol says Privateer was so amazing because you'd fly around the various star systems, go through jump points, visit planets and stations, buy and sell commodities, do rescue, escort, bounty missions, or be a pirate. And that's exactly right, right? This was where a lot of the sensibility that CIG as a company has for Star Citizen, this is some of the genesis of that, right? The sensibility for Squadron 42 is Wing Commander, but the sensibility for Star Citizen really springs from Privateer, and a lot of people would argue another game that we'll talk about a little later. I know folks on YouTube are like, "Are you going to talk about it?" We'll see. And this was, again, pre-Windows, right? Well, DOS in any case.
Yeah.
And you could get it initially on floppy disks, and then this was across the transition into CD-ROM.
CD-ROM is about that time. So this is like early 486 time? Or
Yeah.
still 386, the end of the 386 cycle? Yeah.
Yes. If you had you really needed a 486 to drive this the way you wanted to drive it.
Yeah, I believe it.
256 color monitors.
And make sure you hit that turbo button.
So you can get all the power.
Yeah, so I am going to say, one thing I have noticed, I think the dialogue has much improved since '93 compared to...
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. All right, so yeah, that is Wing Commander Privateer from '93. Up next we have Wing Commander 4, the trailer. This is '96. This is a 2 year difference. 3 year difference. Sorry, 3 year difference. So let's check this out.
For half a century, humanity fought a battle of survival against the Kilrathi. With victory came peace and a simple life for the Confederation's greatest hero.
I'm not waiting. Don't call me honey. Space pigs are all the same.
I guess women out here on the edge of nowhere can't appreciate a civilized man.
Sure they do. When they meet one.
Good to see you too, Colonel. Or should I say Farmer Blair?
It's a peaceful life.
I've always said you're either an earthworm or an eagle.
Red One, all clear out here.
The war is over. The Kilrathi defeated. Peace and prosperity await humanity. If only it were so simple. But the universe is not that simple.
And now they attack us?
Just when you thought your flying days were over,
You are being recalled to active military service.
they pulled you back in. This time, the enemy is not an alien race, but mankind itself.
Looks like you guys ran into some trouble.
The border worlders? Barbarians, most of them.
What the devil is going on out there?
Mark Hamill. You're gonna wish you never met me.
I already do.
Malcolm McDowell. Let's hope that war is not our only option. John Rhys Davies.
A declaration of war against the border worlds has been laid before the Assembly.
Jason Bernard.
What is all of this coming to?
And Tom Wilson as Maniac.
He seems to have a hard time understanding the words no and not interested.
All return for the greatest Wing Commander adventure yet.
I bet you wish you had one of those during the war. Would have put the fear of God into the Kilrathi.
The battle is waged not only for control of the Confederation, but its very soul.
We should be able to think of something better to do than all this killing.
Seize that man!
You know that stunt cost us. I don't have to tell you a damn thing.
Now, talk to me,
Liar.
Got it, kid.
Am I your prisoner of war then, Colonel?
I'm really sorry, sir.
Easy.
You son of a bitch.
Shut your
Help! Stop it!
We're sitting ducks. Dismissed.
The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Wing Commander 4, the fate of mankind rests with you.
Oh boy, they really up their games in 3 years from the previous game. Wow. So yeah, that's Wing Commander 4 from '96. You can see the full motion graphics there. I believe this is the latest series of the 486, maybe the 486 75 megahertz, right? The previous one was like 46, 25 megahertz. The megahertz, not gigahertz, megahertz back then. So yeah. So yeah, what do you thought? Oh, and obviously they had the introduction of real actors into this. So you see Mark Hamill and a whole bunch of other people that you recognize. So
Yeah, they went deep on that in Wing Commander 3, to be fair, right? That began there. And Chris Roberts' penchant for finding stars to engage in this stuff, I think is taken to its height in this game, Wing Commander 4. To your point, this was, Windows 5.0, IBM 486.
no, not 5.0, 3. Before that, maybe DOS 5.0.
Yeah, maybe DOS 5.0.
Right.
That's right. But it was also best ran on Pentium systems, right? So if you had an Intel Pentium 75 megahertz, that was really where you needed to be. And again, RAM, right? You needed RAM.
And a sound card.
Yeah, I remember that for this game, you could run it on 8 megabytes of RAM, and that's what I had. But it ran. That didn't last long to run this. I needed 16 for it to run well, right? So I had to get an upgrade to play Wing Commander 4.
And this one you definitely need a CD-ROM for, correct?
Yeah.
Wing Commander 4 from '96. I think this is the first Wing Commander that I've heard of. I don't think I've heard of Wing Commander 3 or anything before that, but I was into LucasArts game around then, so I believe it's the first one I heard of. How big was this back then? Do you remember?
How big? You mean like
how popular? Yeah.
So, I don't know if I could say how pop culturally popular it was. I could tell you that it was on the cover of every PC gaming magazine.
Right.
Yeah. So, in my little world of PC gaming, the magazines that I brought home from the store, it was on every cover, right? So, it was popular for me among my group of nerds, right? But you know, the extent to which it crossed over, I don't know if I could really speak to that because I was in this world.
Right.
So,
I mean, like I said, it crossed over to me. I didn't play it, but I mean, I was a LucasArts person, Star Wars person. I'm like, oh, there's another space game out there. Oh, wow, this looks cool. And you know, it took a while for Star Wars to reach this level. When it comes to like full motion graphics and stuff like that, they didn't do it until like Jedi Knight 2 or Jedi Knight 1, Jedi Knight 2, I believe. So it took them like maybe 4 years after this. No, 3 years after this, I want to say. Before they reach this level.
Absolutely, Chris Roberts was the pioneer on the full motion video. You know, cut scenes. This was the pioneering stuff, no question.
All right. Oh, by the way, I just want to remind people, this is not YouTube quality. This is the quality of the actual thing back then, okay? It's full motion video, so it wasn't like TV quality per se, but you had to compress it down to fit on the CD-ROM. So that's why
files.
QuickTime files. Yeah, right. Oh, real media. No, it wasn't real media back then, but yeah. The one thing I do remember her, the representative stood up because she always stood out to me because we didn't see people who looked like us in these games too many times. So she stood out to me. Yeah. And that caught my interest. All right. So yeah, okay. The dialogue had improved. The dialogue is better compared to the other game. So y'all
you got real actors too, right?
You got real actors too, yeah.
Yeah.
So okay, I wanted to ask you, how many hours did it take you to finish this game, if you remember? Wing Commander 4.
Oh, maybe 20.
20 hours? Okay, that's decent. And was it $50 or $40 or what?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I don't really remember, but I feel like it was somewhere around there. 40,
I want to say 40, but I got LucasArts game back then. I'm not sure. Yeah, DX 475, yeah, okay. Everybody, trip down memory lane. Hope people are enjoying it. But yeah, this is Wing Commander 4 from 96. And now we have back special request, not special request, we're going to do it anyway. But yeah, so up next we have, we're going for 4 years, from 96 to 2000, the Starlancer. Now, before we get into this one, I want to give a shout out to Ian Livingstone. You remember this conversation we had when we putting this show together, our SeriousFun?
Yes.
So this is the intro, but it said Intro HD, and we both know there was no HD back in 2000. So we were trying to figure this out. So why are you going to call this HD, right? But it turns out Ian Livingstone, you want to tell him?
No, you go ahead.
Ian Livingstone is the original composer for Starlancer. And he had the unconverted or uncompressed source file for the intro. And he said it was 5 gigabytes. I'm like, wait, 5 gigabytes? Back in 2000? That was another thing that caught me off guard. So we were like, come on, man. What are you talking about? HD. Yeah. They're like, come on, man. What are you talking about? HD, 5 gigabytes. What are you talking about? And then we figured out, oh, he's the composer. So that's why he had this stuff. So yeah, so let's check this out.
Coalition's signing of the Balma Treaty will end decades of colonial conflict. Coalition dignitaries will be arriving on Jupiter's moon Europa to take part in this historic event. All over the solar system, Alliance fleets are standing down. The Eastern Coalition, headed by Admiral Kulov, is just now arriving to take part in the signing of the treaty.
Welcome, Admiral Kulov. This is Base Kennedy Patrol. We are ready to escort you to the surface.
Science fools. Commander Romanov, commence the attack.
Da, Admiral. Senior Lieutenant, signal the battle group to the cloak.
Stallout Bridge, I'm picking up some strange readings. What the hell? Maddie! It's a trap! I'm taking fire! I repeat,
All primary objectives have been accomplished. Secondary objectives are now being targeted on all fronts.
Admiral Kulov, your strategy is working perfectly. We've caught the Alliance forces by complete surprise. What's left is in full retreat.
Sir, Vice Admiral Petrov reports the French and Italian fleets have been destroyed. He's requesting additional ships to house the prisoners.
Execute them all. We have no time for prisoners.
Despite putting up fierce resistance, Base Kennedy finally succumbed to insurmountable odds. There have been no reports of survivors. Alliance leaders admitted today that any hope for a peaceful end to the conflict has died with the fall of Europa. We have just received an urgent request from Alliance High Command. All civilians with any flight experience are requested to report to their nearest recruitment center for skills evaluation. The Alliance needs you.
ANS Reliant, this is Alliance Shuttle Delta 9, requesting permission to land. Shuttle Delta 9, you are cleared to land.
Captain on deck.
Recruits, fall in!
At ease. You are the 45th Volunteers. I do not care who you were. As of now, you're part of the Navy. My family. We have a long and proud history, one which we must now fight to preserve. But more than that, we are our people's only hope. Commander Enriquez.
I am your squadron leader. Debriefing at 0600 hours. Welcome aboard the Reliant. Lieutenant Commander.
Ma'am?
Assign these recruits quarters so they can stow their gear. That is all. Dismissed.
Yes, ma'am. Recruits, fall out and follow me.
So yeah, that looked like 5 gigabytes uncompressed. That's some good quality for 2000. So yeah, again, that's Starlancer intro, the high definition from the year 2000. This is from Ian Livingstone's YouTube page. So yes, I was not really familiar with the Starlancer or Privateer or any of that, but so I'm gonna yield to SeriousFun. What are your thoughts? This is like the Windows ME era or Windows ME Millennium Edition.
Well, they built this game for both Windows and the Sega Dreamcast.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So it was that period, right? We're talking turn of the millennium, 2000, and what was exciting about this particular universe was the Starlancer led into Freelancer, right? Which we'll talk about in a minute. But this was the same content, less branching results of your behavior storylines, but still had some of that, right? Still had some of that. And ultimately, different depending on how you played the game, you could take control of up to 12 different ships, if I remember correctly, in this game. And so there was a lot of variation amongst the missions, the ships, the capacities, the capabilities. Lots of fun in terms of that. But the enemy was us. For Starlancer, right? There was no real alien discourse here. It was really about factions and political entities, right? So, yeah, Starlancer was it. This was also among the first, if not the first, game that Chris and Aaron Roberts did together, right? So Aaron Roberts was the producer for Starlancer and one of the designers. And I can't recall a game that they did together before this one. So I think this was the first one. I could be wrong, but I think this was the first one.
Yeah, this is definitely the Voodoo and API Glide era of video games. This was a great time to be a PC gamer, in my opinion.
Yes.
I mean, you can't say it's like futuristic, but it definitely of its time, and it looked like performance-wise that we were, getting to a point where not like what is it, Uncanny Valley, a little bit of that, but it's still improving. And Chris Roberts seemed to be at the forefront of pushing hardware to its limits in those instances, right?
Yeah, and when you think about like Wing Commander versus Star Lancer, what you were getting from Star Lancer in terms of outside of these cutscenes, what you were getting in the gameplay itself was frame rate, right? And that was because PCs had moved to this space where you were getting real VRAM on GPUs for the first time in the beginning of the 2000s. And as a result, you were starting to get frame rate in the flying, which we had never seen before, right? So leading edge in that stuff.
Cool. Yeah, so how many hours of this would this game be, if you remember?
This felt shorter to me, if I remember correctly. I would not put 20 hours on this. I'd put somewhere between 10 and 15. But I remember it explicitly being like sold to us as a taster, as a stop, look, and listen for a freelancer. I almost explicitly remember that. That people were going, this is to hold you over until Freelancer comes out the following year, type of thing.
And this is before all Steam and everything. You had to go to this brick and mortar store, GameStop, in order to pick up the game. And some people did pre-order and stood outside in the line waiting to pick up the game. Those are the games. You don't do that anymore. I think the last time I did that was in 2012 for Star Wars: The Old Republic. But yeah.
Well, and in typical Chris Roberts fashion, it didn't come out the next year, Freelancer.
Yeah, right.
Came out 3 years later.
3 years later, yeah. All right, but before we get to Freelancer, I want to take a commercial break because we are, plowing along in this episode. So let's click this and okay. Greetings, everyone. Hope everyone is having fun. I want to say thank you to all our supporters and say Happy New Year to everyone, not just our supporters, but everyone. And so I'll say it when we come back too. But yes,
yeah. If you're hearing us now and you're not on an ad, that means you've given to us, and we appreciate it very much. You supporting us, we're able to give that right back in terms of giveaways and things like that. So we're just really thankful that you've leaned in that way. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, yes. And our upcoming shows include Soul Talk, we'll always do on Thursday, and next week it will be Thoughts and Prayers. We'll cover more about that, but, just the title itself should pique your interest, so it should be a great show. I hope everybody's doing well, so thank you. All right, so yeah, they're waiting for a few more seconds before we get to our next segment. Let me get this thing out. Okay.
Your community is back. You are back.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1, and we should be back by now. Hope everybody had fun. So yeah, I want to say again, Happy New Year to everybody. Hope everybody had a happy holidays. Hope everybody's staying warm. If you're about to get snow, hope you got your food and everything ready. If you already got snow, hope you got people who can help you shovel it out. All right then. So this is Star Lancer from 2000, and then up next we have Freelancer. Now this is interesting because in Star Citizen, the Freelancer came out first, and then we got the Star Lancer. So I wonder why they went in reverse order this time.
Well, I think the Freelancer concept was very early on in Star Citizen.
It's one of the first vehicles.
Yeah, it's one of the first vehicles, and my guess is to explicitly tie the development of Star Citizen and what we were doing in terms of, the strap line for Freelancer is the universe of possibility. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to explicitly tie that game to what Star Citizen was doing, and then I think they thought about the Star Lancer Freelancer mix later on, right?
So but I think the Freelancer was a more popular game than Star Lancer?
Yes, yeah, by
Okay,
leaps
that's
and
probably
bounds.
right.
Freelancers are
That's
still
probably
popular
right.
today.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Cal Roddy and others will play modded versions of Freelancer now. So.
All right, so let's check out the trailer. This is 3 years later after Starlancer, so here we go.
It was the 23rd century, mankind's darkest hour.
Life support online. Initiating cryogenic freezing. Commencing pod lockdown.
For almost 100 years. We had been fighting for so long, no one could remember the reason why it all started in the first place. All we knew is that there were two sides, the Coalition and the Alliance. For decades, millions died for the same piece of rock, again and again. Finally, one side managed to gain the upper hand, the Coalition. Desperation, the Alliance launched 5 sleeper ships. The hope was for them to begin again far from the war and strife that had befallen Earth, to start free from the prejudices that had divided us for so long. Each sleeper ship was christened after its patron nation. The Britonia, the Rhineland, the Hispania, the Kasari, the Liberty. Against all odds, the colony ships broke through the Coalition blockade and headed for the Sirius system. That was 800 years ago, when we came here to rebuild our lives. We've come a long way since then. We have grown, we have prospered, we have flourished. But we will never forget.
All right, that's a heck of an intro. They upped the game for this one.
Yeah, and he did say the Sirius system, right? You know, Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. That's where they went.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and it just, to your point of, you know, the black woman standing up in Wing Commander 4 as part of the Senate. And going, hey, we do exist in the future. The ships that this ultimately takes place 800 years after Starlancer, but you know, before they get 800 years away, there are 5 ships that sleeper ships that go to the Sirius system. One for the United States, one for the United Kingdom. The Kusari, I remember, was for Japan, Rhineland, Germany, and the 5th sleeper ship was the Hispania. So we did get, amongst black and brown people, we did get some brown people, but they didn't make it. They suffered a malfunction along the way. And the descendants of that crew became pirates in the game. So
so we didn't even last 15 minutes into the game. Darn,
No.
story of our life. And it feels like the coalition. I was gonna say the coalition feels like a guild we may see in Star Citizen one day. I'm not saying it will be. Maybe it already is, but it seems like a name that they may reuse. Rad, thank you for this gifting this gift sub to Lady Space Patrol. Appreciate it. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Very nice.
So yeah, quite a few of these games we use different names or different different names in Star Citizen Fighting for the Two. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna continue. As far as we know, Vandal. I don't believe Vandal has ever been used before, but the Kalrathi have been used, and some people are thinking maybe the Kreetok, maybe the Kalrathi of Star Citizen.
The Kurthok.
Yeah. So we don't know though.
Yeah, I don't think he'll mess around with those rights issues, but it'll be very interesting to see. My hope is that, and we did a show on this a while ago. My hope is that they go very, very alien for the Kurthok, right? And give us something that isn't, humanoid kind of like, but green or whatever, that they do something a little bit stretching of our imagination and outlandish, relatively speaking. But to talk about Freelancer, and again, these are sort of like how we can track all the way back from Wing Commander the pieces that we're getting both in Squadron 42 and in Star Citizen, but this persistent virtual galaxy multiplayer mode. You could cut off your engines in a Freelancer ship and turn any direction while drifting in another direction. So you got the beginning of like Newtonian physics flight and things like that. Leading edge space trading and combat simulation with a bit of a plot, but you were free from that plot. It was just very, very leading edge. It was also like Digital Anvil, which was Chris Roberts' development house, had to be bought out of this game by Microsoft so that it could get released, because Chris was delaying it because he wanted to get certain things right the way he thought they needed to be. But Microsoft bought out Digital Anvil and released the game in 2003. And there were lots of bugs. People don't remember. There's a lot of rose-colored remembrance around Freelancer's launch, but it launched with a lot of bugs. It got right fairly quickly, but it today people are still playing this game today. They're playing modded versions of this game today. Lady Space Patrol says it. There remains an active community engaged in this game, engaged in mods of this game, because it does have a real usable universe in the Sirius Sector activity.
Well, it seems like to me, from what I'm hearing, it's like this is like X4 or the X series somewhat.
It's not as much. X series is more like you can become like your own economy.
Okay.
This was more about trade across 48 known star systems. I feel like this is a little more elite dangerous than it is X4. Other people might feel differently, but that was sort of my sense of it. it was very much about trade and not necessarily about building up so that you could, wage war and control sectors and be your own massive economic force.
And it seemed like this game took hours and hours compared. This might be the longest game. How many hours?
Because there wasn't really any end.
There wasn't really any end. Yeah, right. That's the other thing. Like X4. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So
how many hours you put into this?
Oh, hundreds.
Multiple hundred, not just 100.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Probably about 400 or 500 hours. Yeah.
So I guess like Wing Commander was the it game for Chris Roberts in the 90s, and this became the it game in the 2000s for Chris Roberts.
Yeah, sorry, what'd you say?
The Wing Commander was the it game for Chris Roberts in the 90s. It sounded like this was the it game for Chris Roberts in the 2000s.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And he was hoping
Wing Commander went on to do like Wing Commander Prophecy and the hateful I Hate It, Wing Commander Armada. And those were never as good in my view, a series of games. I think Wing Commander 4 was the height of the Wing Commander series. And I think it was the same way in the sales. And then Freelancer was the height of this Starlancer Freelancer universe as well. And so, yeah, you had Chris Roberts at Origin and at doing Wing Commander, and then you had Chris Roberts with Digital Anvil, and they were known for Freelancer.
And John Mupig, hey, welcome to the stream. This is Freelancer from 2003. So yeah, we're taking a stroll down memory lane from Wing Commander to Squadron 42, and this is we're mostly caught up, I guess.
And when you played this, sorry, just really quick, when you played this, you were playing it on recommended systems. I think were like a Pentium 3 processor, a GPU with 16 megabytes of VRAM if you could get it, 1 gigabyte on your hard drive, full gig on your hard drive, and there were like 2 hours of cutscenes, and this was like Windows 7 was the recommendation. But
I want to say this is like
98.
This might be the first series of games where you had a 2D card and a 3D card in one. Instead of being separate, like the Matrox and Voodoo, you had I can't remember the name now. STA. I forget the name of the video card, but they had 2 in 1, and so it came a long way. Oh yeah, someone bought out Nvidia, not Nvidia. Someone bought up Voodoo.
3DFX.
3DFX, right, and put out a 3D card. So yeah, coming along. You still had to have a hardware like a Creative Lab or Sound Blaster card for the audio too. But yeah, they were catching up. All right, so yeah, that is Freelancer 2003. So we're gonna take a not a detour, but we're gonna take a this is pretty much the last game before Squadron 42 Star Citizen from Chris Roberts in 2003, the Freelancer series, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So
he went off to do movies.
Movies, right. The Wing Commander movie and Lord of War. Yeah. Okay. So then we're gonna take a not a flight detour, but a jumping off point and talk about community reaction to Squadron 42. Now this is from Admin Gold React. This is from the presentation from 2023, not last year, but the year before last. So just want to play like the last 4 minutes of this, and then we'll come back.
As you can see today, the teams are working incredibly hard, ramping up the detail and quality to match the breadth of our vision for Squadron 42.
I think they do scope really well. Like the scaling in the game, I think this is actually very well done.
Now I know you're all asking, when can I play it?
Right.
When can I play it?
When we have the locked release date, you will be the first to know.
Okay.
Now we're in polishing phase on Squadron 42. You will start to see a lot more
There's
things
no
from
day.
Star Citizen, as well as overall progress on the persistent universe. The polish phase can take some time. We have come this far, and we want to make sure Squadron 42 delivers on the promise of being this generation.
Yeah, it's 42 for 2042.
Now, even though there's only a few of us in this video, I'd like to extend a big thank you to all our staff around the globe who've been putting their heart and soul into bringing Squadron 42 to life. And I would like to thank everyone in the community for your patience and your support. To paraphrase Admiral Bishop, when people ask, what did you do in the development of Squadron 42? You can look them in the eye and say, I held the line. I'm proud to stand with you. Thank you for making this game with us.
I'm gonna be honest. Wait, what's this? Oh shit, they got the aliens. What the fuck? Damn, okay, so they do have aliens. Yeah. I'm gonna be real, boys. Like, I went into this thinking that, like, somebody was actually making a joke because somebody was saying, like, I said, what is Squadron 42? They're like, oh, it's Star Citizen. Somebody says it's a next-gen game. I'm thinking this is going to be like another King Kong situation where we're just going to watch like a really bad game and it's just going to suck. Like, this is insanely good. Like, everything about this is good. The quality of the graphics is good. The cinematics seem good. Even like the development team talking about the game, everything they're saying makes sense. It's like there's not a lot of bullshit in it. Like, there's nothing, right? It's just... This is just, like, incredibly clean. Yes, the frame rate is problematic, but I feel like that's something that will improve. But there's no actual game? Well, no, they did show some gameplay. Like, I'm pretty sure the stuff where it's, like, the ship and everything moving around, that's all gameplay. So, yeah, guys, I'm gonna be real. I'm excited for this. Not to fucking scam. Is it a scam? Well, I'm not going to give them money. I'm just going to buy the game when it comes out. Like, when the game comes out, I'll buy the game. Like, I'm not... you know, like, I mean, if this is a scam, I mean, they sure put a lot of work into it. Look, I just think this looks really cool. I don't give a fuck about, like, what the developer did. Like, if it comes out and it's bad, like, who gives a fuck? I just make a video about it being bad. Squadron 42.
So yeah, so you want to come back to looping over to that was the end, an abrupt ending. So sorry about that. So yeah, just gonna jump into some of the community reaction to Squadron 42 because a lot of people don't know. When you hear about CIG, they hear about Star Citizen most of the time. And a lot of people don't know that they are in fact making 2 games. And a lot of people don't know that it's a shared universe between the two. So some people are educating themselves or becoming educated more and more. And some people are becoming hip to the fact that, you know, this may be something good.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, this is that. Go ahead.
I think that I was just going to say, I think also that Asmongold sort of revealed the mode and modus of the content creator, which is they get to make a video no matter what happens, right? The game is great, he gets to make a video. The game sucks, he gets to make a video. The game is meh, he gets to make a video, right? Content creators are well positioned in that sense.
So yeah, like I said, this is from 2023, and this took, I don't want to say, it kind of took the game crowd by storm because Asmongold is big, but unfortunately, the Star Citizen community didn't quite. They pushed them into a point where he wanted to stop making content for Star Citizen. I'll say it like that. So he may not. Maybe he'll get back to it later on, but he said he's going to stop for the time being. But you know, this was a great advertisement for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen from Asmongold because he was impressed, and a lot of people are impressed too. So that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I know. Yeah. All right, so yes, you're gonna come to 2024 now. This is our last year's presentation, and this is from trying to get his name right. Kai Dammit. Filmmaker React 142. This can't be a game, so we're jumping into the middle of this real quick. I'm not gonna go full screen, but we'll watch a few minutes.
Oh, this is good. That's why they didn't do that camera shot I wanted earlier. They're doing it on this one now.
Go.
Go? Oh, they're flanking them.
5 seconds out to the fray.
I wondered if this bastard was in it anymore. Poster child's in it.
Tally's on me.
Red 1, red 2. Music momentum's lifted. This Harry whispered. My eyes watered a little bit. I got lured in, I got sucked into it all, and he whispered, and it was the delivery of it. Bang, 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 bang.
Let's say hi.
All copy. Shots at the ready. Stand by for lock.
All this is happening while our bloke's out cold on the floor.
Ready up, people. Enemy vectors inbound.
Copy, Doug. You can cover, I can make a run at that shield, Jenny.
I bet they came at Henry, and he was like, sounds like a wet dream, I'm in.
Those fighters. Natal, Bug, you're in main. Maybe run a double switch back.
He just looks a bit like a Barbie doll. That's the only thing I don't like about it.
Your shot.
Got it. All echoes. Stay on the ball.
Light him up.
Doing brilliant shots, pedestaling in, coming into him, and into a tracking shot. Beautiful. Everything he says, or what they're doing, is powerful. That's why. The sound mix on this is amazing as well.
Cal, I don't think your ship's got the firepower to take that emitter out.
You might be right.
Oh, clever boy.
Shield's up and up.
We've got to show that they're elite.
I think we'll meet for now. But yeah, he continued on to the whole presentation, giving his perspective as a filmmaker. And yes, this was dropped into our Discord and Solar Citizen a while ago, so I wanted to include him as in 2042 discussion. So yeah, well, before I get my opinion, what do you think of his video? SeriousFun.
I think his video is great. He's now going through the Star Citizen commercials as well, and his videos giving perspective first on Squadron 42, and then Star Citizen from a filmmaker's perspective. Helped me understand why CIG chose the shots and the angles and the lighting that they did. In ways that only a filmmaker would articulate, right? But then when you see it, after he says it, you're like, huh, that makes sense, right? When you want to show the power of something, you put yourself below it from the shot, for example. He said one of the things he said. Another thing he talked about was the way that shots pan in, right, to tell stories. He does a lot of those, and he almost doesn't really have to stop the video to get those things out. So it's almost like he's doing it at pace. And I thought that it was really instructive for somebody who's in the industry doing the work, right? As far as we know, I don't, that's what he says. He's a filmmaker. He's talking like a filmmaker, sounds like a filmmaker.
Right.
That they are impressed with the work that's being done and the way that it's being done. and the way that they talk about it and help me understand it, I become more impressed with the work. So I like his videos a lot.
Yeah, I do.
It reminds me of early morphologists, right? Where he was an architect and he would talk about the program of ships, and I would learn something. So that's what I like.
And this is someone who isn't familiar with the Star Citizen or Squadron 42 universe, coming in cold and giving their impression, and they seem like they were impressed. It's sometimes we've been in the project so long that sometimes we're in a bubble, so we don't know how people outside our bubble may interpret or react to the game. But seeing stuff like this is pretty cool because it gives us an outside perspective. Something that I liked was how positive he was about the project. Because he didn't seem to be bogged down about the controversy coming in or anything like that. He was just looking at it from a filmmaker's eye and giving his comments on what he saw. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, check out some more videos. You already put his link in the chat. So hopefully, we'll see more stuff from him coming up. So we come from someone who isn't familiar with Star Citizen, and then we come to someone who is familiar with Star Citizen or making a return to Star Citizen. So up next we have Aurelia. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name correctly. But this is the Star Citizen, Squadron 42, let me get the name right. Squadron 42 gameplay reveal, emotional reaction. And this is from the near the end of the video, so we'll check this out real quick.
Oh my god. Squadron 42.
All right, team. 5 seconds out to the fray. Form up, Cal. You got point.
Copy that. Tally's on me.
Flight. Echo flight. Prep for boost.
Say hi.
All copy. Chopps at the ready. Stand by for lock.
All right, so I'm going to jump in. She's not acting. She was emotional. If you catch the beginning of the video, she explains why. She's in the military. She's in the Air Force. So this hits her differently than it would hit a civilian like I am. So that's why she's emotional. And plus, she's been away for a while, and she's coming back and seeing how much progress they made. So it hit her differently for that.
When she labels herself a Star Citizen veteran, she's saying two things there. It's kind of a double entendre, right? She's a veteran of the project. Been around the project for a long time, went away from it because, it was a little bit frustrating, had other stuff to do in life, and has started to come back to the project, but she's also to Fastcart's point, an actual veteran, right? And worked in the Air Force with SAR, search and rescue operations. And so there's a lot of the language that's been used here was evocative of people that she went to the Middle East with. So to see the project start to come around to completion and to have the authenticity of her experience was emotional. So
Yeah, so I
For her
appreciate
and for lots of others.
Right.
She's not the only one that feels that way.
And I appreciate her putting out this video. This is cool. Cool to see. And, you know, I wanted to use this scene because it's almost the same place as the previous video we just saw, but totally different reaction, right? This is someone who's been with the project for a while, and they've, you know, they haven't invested like stock or anything, but they have invested time and feelings in the project, and it's so good for a lot of us to see the progress that they're making.
Yeah. And just a reminder for those of us who may or may not know, the point in the video where Squadron 42 is revealed is the 42nd minute of the video, which is kind of fun as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that. Or maybe I did notice that, but I forgot about it. So thank you for reminding us about that. Cool. But yeah, she has put out a couple of more videos. I'm not sure if she's streaming again yet, but I mean, streaming the game, I mean. But she has put out a couple more videos regarding Star Citizen and Squadron 42, so check those out. Yeah, I love her reaction. All right, so I think that's about it. Oh, no, we do have a couple more things. But I'm just going to let that out. Well, I just go over to you. That's what I do. My bad. Hard making the audio audible. So yeah, we're going to talk about film influences now. So just starting with Star Wars film influence. You want to start here and we can go back and forth?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Squadron 42 is clearly informed by the space operatic sensibility of Star Wars, but in particular, the orchestral score, right? One of the things that I think John Williams brought to the table very early on with Star Wars was the idea of each scene, each beat being informed by the orchestral score, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the scene of Luke looking out on the twin sons of Tatooine, it's what we hear when that happens, right? And so there are reaction compilations to the Squadron 42 video, not the one from last year, but the one that Asmund Gold looked at in 2023 when the Hornets first come across the Second Fleet and the bagpipes kick in, right? And,
no, right, yeah.
And people have a visceral, emotional reaction to that. I know I did, right? And others have.
Bagpipes, yeah.
And that harkens all the way back to cinematic efforts like Star Wars in the context of big, sweeping space operatic moments informed by cinematic score. You know, in our case, Pedro Camacho and the work that he's doing for our both these experiences, Squadron 42 and Star Citizen.
Can I forget Jeff Giannelli also? He's the composer for Squadron 42. We don't hear him too much, but we did hear him last year, especially for Squadron 42. And those two seem to be good friends. They always compliment each other, depending on what's going on.
Yeah. The other thing that I think informs Squadron 42 and its design aesthetic is the lived-in. There's some lived-in components to the Squadron 42 and Star Citizen universe, and harkens back to like a Star Wars aesthetic in terms of cinematics, right? This idea that some stuff will look used, right? Drake is a particular avatar of this idea, right? That stuff is used and worn and things like that, right? So and that's not to say that Squadron 42 is going to be limited to that, right? But that's one of the things you can see in that aesthetic when we see it. Yeah.
You stole my answer when I was going to talk about the influences from Star Wars, the second part. But yeah, it's, a lot of the planets and stuff like that, because I mean, Star Wars is guilty of having a monoplanet like Hoth or Swamp or Dagobah. It's all swamp or all ice. But Star Citizen definitely I mean, maybe in the beginning they were going to go that route, but then they said, "Oh no, we can have Pursuit of Planet. We can make it more diverse." So they purposely tried to get away from Star Wars in that aspect. But I do think that's an influence in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So Star Trek. I'll start with this one. Star Trek.
Yes.
Phew. So I like the way how Star Citizen and Squadron 42 seem to be more hard science, I guess you could say, as opposed to more science rather than sci-fi. Yes, they do have a lot of sci-fi involved, but it tries to borrow from real-world science. Now, I know some people, Jade, may disagree, but they don't go too far enough. But they do seem to maybe not directly influencing, but I feel a little bit of Star Trek vibe from that, especially like the way certain manufacturers look and feel and with their shipped origin can seem like a spin-off of an Enterprise bridge, or especially TNG, because it's pristine and clean. And some of the other ships, like maybe Drake, maybe like Ferengi or Cardassian or Klingon. And so I do see a lot of nuances and influences from Star Trek in that regard. How about you?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that whether you're all the way back to the original series or in particular the Next Generation aesthetic, which was clean lines, right? Clean bridge, clean hallways.
Curves.
There's a lot of that in Squadron 42 and in Star Citizen as well, right? I think Squadron 42, because it is centered on being in the UEE Navy, right? We see a lot more of the brutalist, like militaristic aesthetic that maybe the Klingons in the Star Trek universe are more evocative of, right? But we do have a moment, for those of us who are in the know, there's a moment in the most recent Squadron 42 reveal of a Xi'an ship. The back of a Xi'an ship looked like it's escaping. Right? And
Banjul?
No, Xi'an, right? It looks like a Cartual, right?
Oh, okay.
And it's the back of it. And it's towards the very, very end of the Squadron 42.
Okay,
video.
okay.
And it looks like a Xi'an area, right?
Mhm.
And that's sort of evocative in the Star Trek universe, maybe of the Romulans, right? So a lot of this stuff borrows from a lot of other stuff, but all of it speaks to sort of bigger archetypes in human experience, right? So, so I see just like you, Fastcart, I see Star Wars in this universe. I see Star Trek in this universe as well.
Which one do you see more of, in your opinion? I see more Star Trek. How about you? Do you see more Star Wars or Star Trek?
Well, if I had to pick between those two,
I know we got one more. I just want to ask first. We go ahead.
Yeah, before you get to the other one.
Right.
I would probably say I see more Star Wars in Squadron 42 and more Star Trek in Star Citizen.
Okay, I can get with that. Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so you're going to start off with this one because I've seen it. I've seen it a couple of times, but it seems like you're a bigger fan. Starship Troopers as an influence on Star Citizen and Squadron 42.
Well, it's funny that the time frame across the whole timeline of human endeavor, the time frame that we're functioning in, is not the United Planets of Earth time frame. It's not a battle back against the Messer regime. It is sort of the institutionalized empire, right? We are at a time when there's nobody really challenging the idea that we're in an empire, right? And that sort of speaks a bit to the irony that Paul Verhoeven was trying to get at in Starship Troopers, right? A lot of people watch Starship Troopers and go, this was about the elevation of fascism. No, it was actually a warning around fascism, right? It was a challenge to that way of seeing and being in the world, right? So I wonder in putting us where we are, right? And offering up, for example, different forms of government in Nyx, right? And offering up freedom from UEE law in Pyro, that some of the sensibility they're trying to allow us to escape from is the sensibility we found in Starship Troopers, right? Where Squadron 42 could be a very direct and clear example of that. And one of the strengths of playing Wing Commander all the way through to Wing Commander 4 is there are storylines that we get to in Wing Commander 4 that are sort of like challenging the institution of government in the Wing Commander universe, right? Now they do it through the lens of the ethical dilemmas around the decisions of individuals, right? Spoiler alert, right?
It's only a 30-year-old movie.
30-year-old game, right?
And I don't know how long the book is.
Yeah, but there are branching storylines in Wing Commander 4, for example, where Malcolm McDowell has just done the wrong thing, right? And the Mark Hamill character that you play says that has to be challenged, that has to be changed. And the John Rhys Davies character, in leading the broad legislative body, is willing to challenge it, right? So you wonder the extent to which some of that will be in Squadron 42. There's a moment in the Squadron 42 walkthrough where you're in the mess and you turn to one of the tables where people are sitting and someone talks about the Polo Initiative preventing funding for the UEE Navy to do what it needs to do. And they talk about how a Javelin didn't get its ammunition or something like that. And then there's a little pop-up that, like, in your codex about the Polo Initiative. And so it seems like there's going to be at least some sensibility around, sometimes the enemy is us, right? It's not just the aliens, right? And I hope that they lean into some of that, because for me, that makes the thing authentic, right? Because we can be a mess, right? We've got to overcome some of ourselves in order to be able to deal with other threats. So.
Now, for me, about the only inspiration or influence I can see from Starship Troopers is, it doesn't happen a lot in the movies, but it does happen occasionally, the propaganda. Because there's plenty of propaganda in the Starship universe, and Starship Troopers were big on propaganda. I'm doing my part was from Starship Troopers. I held the line. It's in Squadron 42. So that's how I see a direct influence from Starship Troopers into Squadron 42, in my opinion. But yeah, for me, that's it. One thing I forgot to mention, should have covered this previously in the Wing Commander era. A lot of the actors from Wing Commander are coming back for Squadron 42 30 years later. We got John Rhys Davies, you just mentioned, Mark Hamill. As far as I know, that's the only two I can think of.
Yeah, those are the only two that come to mind immediately. But yeah, they were a big deal in the Wing Commander series, so it's exciting to see them back in this.
And the star power in Squadron 42, we cover that, because the first guy, what's his name? Kai Zamet. Let me get his name. Kai Zamet. Yeah, he was impressed by all the actors that he recognized in the Squadron 42 video. So, yeah, that's no small thing. I remember when 2016 the trailer came out and people were seeing Mark Hamill as old man, I saw a post on Twitter saying, "Oh, yeah, Mark Hamill's not gonna like that. They used his likeness." The person who posted that was under the assumption that they got his likeness without his permission. Like he wasn't a performance captain acting in the scenes himself. They just thought that they just stole his likeness and just using it in any video game. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, and you know the commitment that Chris Roberts has had to using top-notch acting talent. You know, actors that you know and actors that you know when you see them, right? But you may not know their names, right? Like Liam Cunningham, who played the Onion Knight in Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones, right?
Rona Mitra, other folks like that. I think gives us a chance to have really poignant moments. Sophie Wu, right? We have a chance to have really poignant moments because the acting is, when you've got Gary Oldman and Gillian Anderson and Mark Strong and others, you have the chance to do something really special. So it's exciting that talent has been recruited, right?
So we do have one more film influence or TV influence, as the case may be. I'm going to throw this up real quick. So some people have noticed that Eagle Eyes. I saw a frame grab from the two different media, but this is I put together this clip, comparing Serenity, the movie, with Squadron 42. So check this out. So yes, let's go down for a few seconds. But yeah, I just wanted to show that because Serenity, Firefly, big influence. A lot of people said when they got the Freelancer, that's my Firefly ship. Firefly Serenity was a big influence for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. And just like some of the Pyro stuff, it could easily take place in the Firefly universe, especially some of the marketing place and stuff like that. How about you?
Oh, absolutely. It's that, I think I felt when we started getting full alien lexicons, when people started really fleshing out Xi'an and Banu, and there were ways to learn that in partnership with folks that were working with CIG and others. It reminded me most of Firefly and Serenity setting because they speak in a hodgepodge of language that includes Mandarin, Chinese, and English and other things. And it was like, oh, are we going to have moments where it's going to be important to know Xi'an and know Banu, right, in order to move forward. And then you get the reunion video where the owner of the duck speaks Banu to keep the handcuffs on the one other character,
right?
And that reminded me of Firefly and getting free from. It starts as the Brown Coats and the Independent Army in the Firefly universe, but getting free from the Alliance, living free from the boot of that type of government. For me, again, is that sensibility you can have a chance of finding on Nyx with the People's Alliance and on in Pyro, right? Where there still may be order, it's provided by gangs, but there's no UEE law, right? And what types of adventures can you get up to when you're outside of that? And what happens when the UEE decides to look your way, right? For me, that's a very Firefly Serenity sensibility. Yeah, and I think that there's definitely an influence there, and I like that influence is there.
And also, I forgot to mention the cinematic feel of Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. It feels like a movie. Kai Zamet again mentioned that, and you know, the aesthetics. It's like we said before. Chris Roberts is a filmmaker, and part of the reason how he can get so many of these stars because they trust his vision, and he has experience in making movies and video games, and combining those two into an art form. So yes, the cinematic feel and influence I can see from Serenity or any of these IP.
Yeah.
And Jade and chat, people in chat to talk about the Expanse. Yes, that's another one. Like some of the politics and some of the action differences, I could see as an influence. How about you?
And also the latest evolution of the penetration of ballistic shells, right? And how stuff might be able to hit your components, and that's what will actually be the problem, is when stuff penetrates and hits things. That's very Expanse, right? Because in the Expanse there's no shields, right? When I get out an EVA and float there and look at a sunrise, that feels very Expanse, right?
That feels Star Wars to me too. Both.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's no, just like sometimes, you know, you'll fly through a server and go to a new server. There's no hard lines, I think, of these influences. I think they come and go, they ebb and flow. But, you know, the Expanse is, I think, you know, we're going to see more of that.
I agree, definitely.
In particular in the narrative that Dave Haddock described as being the one that gets you citizenship, and that narrative between Earth and Terra feels like a Belter Inner Planets type of tension.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You know? And so I feel like there'll be some of that there as well.
The old blood versus the new blood, or the old and busted versus the new hotness, as some people may say. So yeah,
exactly.
All right, so let's get to our predictions for Squadron 42. Would you like to go first for your prediction?
Well, we talked about doing this in the context of a few things. We talked about predictions from you and I, and from the chat, and when it comes to when it will drop in 2026, or maybe people think it won't, right? But if in 2026, when will it drop? We talked about predictions around the price, the base price, and we talked about predictions around packages, right? So if I were to give my three predictions, my prediction is that Squadron 42 will drop in September of 2026.
Ooh, okay.
September.
Any reason for that?
Because I don't want it to be as late as the holiday season, but I feel like predicting any earlier in 2026 is naive.
So we'll go back and forth. So you said September. I'm saying I'm going to cheat and say 2. October 2026, because it's CitizenCon, that'll be a great opportunity to do that. Or December 2026, because they ran late. And they want to get it out just in time before 2027 arrive. So as of October, their purpose going to be on purpose. That'd be the ideal day for them, in my opinion. Or December, because they ran late. So how about you? What do you think about prices for 2042? Because I mean, they were pretty competitive before. So let's give a quick history. I want to say it's been as low as $40 for both games, for Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and then it went up to $45 just for Squadron 42, and then they took it off the website. So when it goes on sale again, or when it goes full price, I just say, what do you think the price will be?
So here's where my prediction is informed by some other thinking that I have, not about Star Citizen, but exclusively about Squadron 42. I think Squadron 42 will drop for PC, for PlayStation, and for Xbox.
Ooh.
And so because I think it will drop for all three, I think it will have a console price point. So I think it will the base package will be $70 because that's the typical price of a console game.
Now, as a recent history, yeah.
Yeah.
It used to be $60, but then I want to say 4 years ago, they went up to 70.
Yeah, for AAA stuff, it's 70, 72, 74, right? So
Right.
That's where I think they'll be. And I think they'll drop. Yeah, I mean, Captain Jones isn't wrong. $69.99. Nice, by the way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. And I do think that they'll drop it for all three platforms.
All right. So we're combining the two. So I'm going to go with you on packages. Then I do pricing packages myself. So what do you think about packages for 2022?
So I think there'll be 3 packages, right? Just, from a behavioral economics standpoint, when you put out 3 packages, it's because you want people to buy the one that's in the middle, right? Because how people function is they go, well, I don't want to be cheap when it comes to this experience, but then they look at the high end one and they go, I don't want to be a sucker either, right? So then they take the one in the middle.
I automatically go to the highest one. Maybe I'm in the minority here. I always go.
Most people will go to the middle, right? And then that's usually where organizations want their sales average to be, right? Which is the middle one. So I think there'll be a $70 package. I think there will be a $90 package that gets you any DLC, and then I think there'll be a collector's edition that could be as high as $250, $300. That comes with like
wait. I was gonna say, what comes with that?
It comes with figures. It comes with a map of the known universe. It comes with those types of things that you can lay out, and a Vandal weapon that lights up RGB or whatever, and that type of thing. Yeah, I think it'll be 3 packages.
So for me, I know Chris Roberts is old school. He likes to do things old school. He's slow to change on some aspect, and I think this will be one thing he's slow to change on. I still think it'll be $59.99 for the base price for the 2042. I'm probably wrong, but that's how I feel. Because like I said, it used to be $40 and $45, and so I can't see them making a jump from $45 to what is it, $69.99. They could, obviously, but I'm feeling more like it'll be maybe $59.99, in my opinion. Now for packages, you need a little history, because back in the day, they sold collector's edition already for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. They're called physical packages, and the cheapest one was $200. No. The cheapest one was $140. It had the Hornet package, I believe, and you got a green box that came with it. And it came with the constellation, a glossy map, and a whole bunch of other stuff. You can look that up. So they already sold collector's edition package, and so we're still waiting on that. Now, when the game come out again for sale, I don't know if they're going to make new packages or just make a pre-order for and add to the ones that they already have for the physical package. As far as I know, that's not the plan. But yeah, so for packages, for me, I think the base model will be $59.99. Deluxe will probably be $79.99. And Ultimate may be $99.99. Now, what the Ultimate may be, that's not a collector's edition. It'll be like comes with DLCs and stuff like that, in my opinion. Now, maybe they will add more physical stuff to it, but who knows? But those are my predictions. $59.99, $79.99, and $99.99.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, I don't know about all the console stuff, though. You got me on that. You got me on that. I mean, other people probably agree. See what people are saying in chat. Captain Jones says 6999999, and it's expensive collector's edition. Yeah.
That's what I think. Yeah.
But how would you differentiate the collector's edition that's already been sold with the new one? How would you do that?
I think that they'll draw a line under stuff and go, people get what they get that we've already sold, and we'll take care of that. I also think there's a percentage chance that even when they drop the base package, they'll say if you already own a Star Citizen or if you have a Star Citizen account, right, then there'll be a short period of time where you can get $10 off of getting into Squadron 42 or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me either. You know.
I hope that there's a way for people who've been a long time backer like us to maybe combine packages. Like maybe if they have a collector's edition or a ultimate edition that comes out new, they say, "Oh, I would like that. I would like that, but I don't want to buy the game twice." Is there a way to combine the two?
That wouldn't surprise me either. Right. To do that.
I would like it, but I don't know if they're going to. But we'll see. Because that'd be a lot of work for them on their end. But we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, so those are our predictions. Thank you all for hanging out. We do have a Q&A. This is from Pop in Space. What impact do you think Squadron 42 release will have on the persistent universe, gamers, and funding? Ooh, what impact do you think Squadron 42 release will have on the persistent universe, gamers, and funding? Well, it depends on when do you think Squadron 42, okay. We already predicted when Squadron 42 will release. We already said that. But when do you think Star Citizen 1.0 will release? Because I'm pretty sure that they would want to make that time gap as narrow as possible. I'm not saying that Star Citizen is going to release in 2026. It would be nice, but I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. So I think the impact will be like a lot more people will have their eye on Star Citizen. And if anything, if the history holds true, there'll be a lot of people who are confused. They won't know what it's early access or alpha. They won't understand it's still in development, and yeah, so it will be bugged. They'll be expecting a finished product rather than what we're currently having. How about you?
Given the fact that Sean Murray was doing the rounds with No Man's Sky on the late night television shows, and given the fact that casts like the Avengers do the rounds on Jimmy Kimmel and the late night television shows, it would not surprise me if smart marketing got the cast of Squadron 42 to do the rounds on television shows in the run up to release. I think the game's going to cross over. I think it's going to have tremendous success. I think it's going to sell about between 8 and 10 million copies. I think the amount that backers have given to the project will be made across Squadron 42's run. I think they'll make about 700 million on it. And as a result, I think that certain aspects of the persistent universe's deep development will be secured. Right? I don't think that they'll keep the money distinctly separate. I think there will be sequels to Squadron 42, but I don't think they'll say Squadron 42 revenue is exclusively used for Squadron 42. I think they'll continue this cross development that they've had, right? Where sometimes the persistent universe is the test bed and platform for things that are going to Squadron 42, and sometimes vice versa. I think that will continue, and it'll help us. And it helps CIG get to 1.0, and then 1.0, I think, will be the platform for deeper development of the persistent universe in terms of features and functionality.
No, I agree with you for the most part, but I will push back on something you said. I think they'll have maybe Chris Roberts on Colbert or late night TV show. He'll be the face, or maybe Aaron Roberts or Sandy Roberts as well. But for the actors like Gary Oldman and Mark Hamill, they worked on this game in 2015, 2016. So, that'll be a 10-year difference if it comes out on time from when they started working on the project to when the game released. I think that'll backfire on them because a lot of the actors may not remember their experience or may not be able to recall the experience as well. So I'm going to push back a little bit on that. So, man, I think Chris Robertson and the development team will be the face, and maybe the actors may not be so much. What do you think?
Maybe. I think some actors have been called back for what they call additional dialogue lines and things like that.
Right.
So they've been re-engaged with the project. But you're right in that some may not have, right? And if they don't have a connection to the project, and they get out there and they go, I don't even remember what I did or what this.
Right.
That would be.
That's
messy,
what I'm afraid
right?
of.
That would be
Henry
messy.
Cavill will be good though, because he's more recent.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that Gary Oldman hasn't gotten any calls of people going, "Hey, I just saw you on this thing. This looks incredible. What is this?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And he may be like, "Oh yeah, I did this thing," and Henry Cavill is into it. Mark Hamill's into it. Gillian Anderson may or may not be, right? So it'd be important to make sure that people who play the role in marketing and getting people ready for those types of tours do well. And don't forget that we do have money set aside that has been invested specifically for Squadron 42 marketing. So
exactly.
whatever form it takes,
right?
Whatever form that marketing takes, I think, we would want it to be compelling. So.
For pop question, what do you think about Squadron 42 release? Will affect the funding? I'm not sure if there may be a point where the funding page will just pause after a while, and that may be when Squadron 42 release, because. Or maybe they'll keep at it. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they decide like, okay, Squadron 42 is releasing, we're gonna pause the funding page. It still be open development otherwise, but they're gonna keep that closer to the chest, unless they make a lot of money. They don't make a lot of money. That they may pause it. If they make a lot of money, they'll keep it open and let people know. But we'll have to see it.
Yeah,
but I hope to. Obviously, we all hope to. Squadron 42 is a success and to make a lot of money. One last question. So you think a movie? Are you asking? Do you think there will be a Squadron 42 movie, like a live action popped, or what does that question mean? Do you think? So you think a movie?
Yeah, I can tell you that I think that CIG live action. I think that CIG will exploit the Squadron 42 and Star Citizen IP in any direction that makes sense over the mid and long term. So whether it is an Arcane style animated show, whether it is a Netflix film or film series, whether it is a theatrical film series, I think that they will look at all of those things, and to the extent that they get an opportunity to exploit the IP and extend it and tell additional stories, I think they will. In the universe, I think they will. And that might be very, very fun for us, or it might be dead ends and cul-de-sacs that we don't like. That could go a lot of different ways. Yeah.
I don't think if they do make a movie, it'll be a long time from now. Like after 2026, maybe 2031, the 50th anniversary of Squadron 42 release, if it released on time. Because I mean, like for Wing Commander, that movie came out in '99, so it's been like 8 or 9 years since the first Wing Commander came out. But I think it was mostly based on Wing Commander 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken. The Wing Commander movie. Oh yeah, I don't think it'll be anytime soon because we still have episodes of Squadron 42 to get out. Yeah. All right, so that's it for the Q&A. We're gonna wrap up, and yeah, so thank you, SeriousFun, for hanging out with me.
Thank you for hanging out with me. You didn't tell any bad jokes, so I feel like I was cheated.
I didn't have time.
I feel cheated.
I didn't click it that many times. Okay. All right. So yeah, coming up. Okay. on Thursday, we have Soul Talk. That's when our user community gets to come in and talk with us on Discord and tell us what's going on, your thoughts about what's going on this week in Star Citizen. We cover Sneak Peek. We cover ISC when it's up. We cover SEO when it's up. And we cover everything else that's going on that week in Star Citizen. So join us on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. UTC for Soul Talk.
And Mehead Militia says, I love these shows. One day I hope to join you all. Yeah, please. These shows are about you joining us. So
come on in for Soul Citizen After Dark. We hang out in Discord in the voice channel. So yeah, come on in. So SeriousFun, you want to cover next week's show?
Yeah, next week's show is called Thoughts and Prayers, and essentially the idea of this show is exploring what happens when longtime committed backers reach the ostensible limit of their legitimate frustrations with the project. How do they find a way to stay connected to and happy with the Star Citizen project? Can they find a way? So be sure to tune in next week, same bat time, same bat channel for Thoughts and Prayers, where we'll have some folks who are part of the broader Soul Citizens community come in and just explore some of that with Griffin Gaming RPG, who's the other founder and host of Soul Citizens. Excited to do that. That's next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Thoughts and Prayers on Soul Citizens.
Thank you for that. I'm trying to find some of the way that I just found it. So yes, reach the end of the show. If you want to become a Soul Citizen Soulmate, Soul Citizen membership has you privileged. Click the join button below on YouTube. I already said thank you for everyone, and thank you on the chat for the questions and the vigorous chat that I've been trying to keep track of. You want to follow us on social media with Soul Citizens with the S on the end everywhere. You want to support us and buy merchandise. You can support us on Patreon. And, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow, depending on what platform you're on, and hit the notification bell to know when we go live. So, appreciate y'all. Hope y'all had fun. And we're going to raid Main and Ariana. So, let me get that straightened out real quick before we end.
There we go.
There we go. So yes, hope everybody had a good weekend. Make sure you stay warm and stay dry too. So
absolutely.
Hope y'all take care. Happy New Year's again. Peace, love, and so